Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to a Better Life discussion. I'm your host, Marcia Trajano, and with me today are Dr. Anahy Fonseca and Sinclair and Jussara Korngold. Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining me in this second episode about emotions, feelings, and sensations, in whatever order you may want to talk about them. But I also want to thank you, everyone who is joining us via this broadcast, and also want to thank the several institutions that are bringing this program to us. AMI Brazil, the United States Spiritist Federation, TV Mansão do Caminho, and the International Spiritist Council. Make sure, if you haven't done so yet, to subscribe it. And if you want to check out additional details about this program, please go to www.spiritist.us. Also, I invite all of you to send us your comments, feedback, questions, anything. I'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you're interested in knowing more about this, the sources for this program today, please do read. I especially recommend Life Challenges and Solutions. And I believe it's chapter 4 that is specifically on sensations and emotions. And the other book, which is still in Portuguese, I think it's in the process of being translated. There's an entire chapter, chapter 9, in its third part that speaks of emotions, sensations, and feelings themselves. But with that, I want to just tell you that I'm eager to get back to this topic with the three of you. And I wanted to say that last week we left with a description of a short paragraph at the second book, chapter 9, of Reflecting the Soul, if it was in English. And it says the following: it's emotions and feelings that color our lives, but we need to know how to choose the colors. They're like forces that can either lead us to our personal hell or to the heaven of our best accomplishments. So, Anahy, can you help us understand this just very complex topic, emotions, feelings, and sensations?
Yes, hello everybody. It's a beautiful sentence for us to start this week with our program. And I wanted to tell you, everybody, that Joanna, when she combines spiritist knowledge and psychology, she encourages us to know and study ourselves in order to become truly authors of our own lives and no longer spectators of an everyday tragedy. That's Joanna's words. So, one of the things that I think it's important when Marcia was saying sensations, feelings, and emotions is trying to see if there are differences between these concepts, right? And we know that about emotions and feelings, sometimes they are practically synonyms, okay? But there are some differences, important differences, that I think help us to reflect upon these concepts. So I think to start with, that we can think that feeling is a complex, affective state, more stable and durable, while emotion is an affective reaction that is generally intense and momentary, manifesting itself through various disturbances, especially of a neurovegetative nature. Remember the neurovegetative? It's a kind of a difficult word for a Brazilian in English. But I talked about this all the time because it's the system, okay, the neurologic system that is responsible for regulating functions of the viscera, okay, like respiration, circulation, digestion, and excretion. Okay, so the feelings are a mental attitude from the dimension of ideas fed by thoughts.
Mhm.
They are processes of evaluation and judgment, while emotions take us by the gut. We are talking about viscera, right? So, for instance, let's think of an example, because we say then, of course, emotions are closely related to animal behavior, like primitive behavior. So, if I'm feeling anxious because I have a test, okay, a different difficult test to take or whatever, and I haven't studied a lot, or if I'm anxious about recording a program and a podcast, for instance, right? And I have for some reason I'm afraid also. I'm anxious because I'm afraid. And then I feel sometimes I'm going to, like, my respiration gets quicker. I get all pink, right? My circulatory system is a lot of adrenaline, right, in the blood system. So this is a primitive emotion because I'm feeling challenged. I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling how could we say, Marcia? I'm feeling that I'm in danger of something.
Yes. Yeah.
But of course, I know that there's no danger in taking a test, except that I can flunk, I can miss something, I can go on and have to do it again, study more or whatever. Of course, there's no problem in talking with friends as we are, enriching minds and hearts. This is beautiful to think, exchanging ideas. But my primitive mind, some primitive aspects of myself, I have done a lot of. They have turned on lights, danger, danger, danger. Um, so what happens is that my body is going to react. My blood is a lot of blood is going. The circulatory system is going to be because the message of danger. So it's going to be a lot of adrenaline and a lot of blood going onto the brain because we have to think more. If I'm in danger, I have to have some behavior to try to avoid danger, of course,
Mhm.
right? But then there comes a feeling. So the feeling, remember, people, are from the dimension of the ideas, of images.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's quite similar. But then I said, well, in danger of what? If I hold, remember last week we were talking that I should hold my emotions because I'm learning with them, right? And then for instance, maybe there will a feeling will develop of joy, maybe. Oh, I'm anxious, but it's going to be great. I'm going to be with friends and Marcia and Jussara, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of interesting things. And then suddenly, all that anxiety turns into joy, maybe, because then an idea, an image came to my mind and to my psyche. I don't know. Do you think it's clear enough, this kind of example?
Yeah.
I, yeah. Go ahead, Anne.
Yeah. I
Okay.
was just going to say also, like, it's sometimes it's almost when you embrace your emotion, like you're saying, like a baby. I really like that image that you're using. So it becomes less scary. Yeah. So it's not like a ghost anymore or a shadow, but it's something that we are holding there and we can be curious about it, saying, hello, nice to meet you. You're part of me. You've been hiding for a while, or I didn't let you out, but now you're here. And being able to transform it into a feeling, like to use that power, that energy for something. It made me think about, I don't know if you want to talk about passions, But passions, like in the past, it was like in Victorian times, passion's all bad, blah, blah, blah. No, passion is a strong energy. It depends how you direct it. You can have a passion for medicine and research and discover things and help to make a whole lot all of people better. Or you can have an ungoverned passion that just makes you do crazy things and social, social behavior and things like that. But I was just thinking about like that. We just, although we are all of us living with our emotions, we are not sort of intimate and familiar with them. We haven't been looking them face to face. That's the image, because when you bring it as a baby in front of you, say, I can look at you, it's okay. And just take away the fear of why are we afraid of it? Because when we repress it, it takes us over. I just find it's really helpful thinking about getting to know ourselves. We need to get to know the emotions that visit us, that they're not bad or good, but they're just what they are. They are these emotions that are turning up for us and that are part of us, of our journey from past lives, from the journey of humanity through all the struggles that we've had in our evolution to get to the point where we are.
And the philosopher, it just came to my mind when we were talking about. I think in English it would be the same because he's from the eastern, from the east. Rumi, you'd say Rumi.
Yeah.
There is a beautiful poem that I can't remember the name exactly, but it's a house of guests, a guest house or
Yeah, I
something
guess
like
so.
that. And where he says that we should receive, or like in going to the front house, we say that the front door, we say that our house, um, our home, symbolically speaking, is the where your soul lives. Okay, so this in this beautiful poem by Rumi, he says that we should go to the front door every day and receive the. So we are talking about emotion, the emotion that arrives, the guest house, yes, the emotion that arrives as a very dear guest,
Wow.
inviting in, and being warm and like a dear guest. And I think it's so beautiful. The joy, oh, yes, it's, thank you, Marcia, you put here. So can I just read quickly?
Yes.
So it's the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. How beautiful. The
Oh,
dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes. Thanks
beautiful.
so much. It's beautiful. So I think it's giving a general idea of what we said, this image of holding as a baby the emotion, because then you are tender with your emotion, with yourself. And I think it's a very beautiful way. And if you allow me, Rumi Marsha is saying, yes, was born in Afghanistan in September 30, 1207. Wow, that's
And
great.
look at the last paragraph, how beautiful it is. It was missing. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I know in this our conversations, the podcast, we are going to talk a lot about the beyond of this guide within and outside of us too. but I don't want to give spoilers. And but one of the things that maybe, Jussara, thank you so much for to recovering this last sentence, because we were talking about Kardec, and I have the questions. Sara always helps me. I have that in Portuguese, the Spirit's book is question 907, but I don't know in English. If
I
you
can
guys
read it if you want.
can
I
you?
have it here.
Oh, great! Please,
Would you like me to read it?
I
Yes.
would love it. Thank you.
I'm reading from Anna Blackwell's translation, which is the first translation that was done at the time of Kardec. There are other more modern ones, but this is my personal preference. So it's 907. It's on the chapter. It's titled "The Passions." It says, and the question is: as our passions have their roots in nature, are they evil in themselves? And the answer the spirits give is no. It is only their excess that is evil, for excess implies a perversion of the will. But the principle of all his passions has been given to mankind for his own good, and they may all spur him on to the accomplishments of great things. It is only their abuse that harms. So it's really interesting saying that talking about the passions, that they're there to spur us on, and it is only the abuse that does us harm. Getting to know our passions again as the baby as well, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I like very much this translation. And I like the synchronicity. Um, it just popped in my mind. So, a guide from beyond wanted me to remember Rami. And this last sentence also that Jussara got, that sent as a guide from beyond, right? For the ego, it it always looks at some the transcendent. It's from beyond its own possibilities, because the ego is our consciousness, okay, the center of our consciousness, and is trying to adapt, and it's very worried with the outside. So this guide from beyond will speak to us from within. So that's the thing. And we need, it's very important that we pay attention. So the emotions are coming from within. They are not coming from outside of us. Even as we were talking last week, if something happens, the circumstance, a person says something that bothers me or makes some reaction, violent reaction, and my respiration and my circulatory system gets really upset, full of adrenaline. But the reason is not from outside, it's from the inside. So that's why Joanna is saying that it's so, so important that we listen to the inner guide that appears to the ego as from something from beyond, from very distant. But if we are all children of the transcendent, whatever you want to call it, okay? And we are all children of this beautiful light that it's love and power and creation. So of course all of this is going to be talking to us from within, not from outside, right? So and the emotions are, as the spirits are telling Kardec, are there to lead us in this evolution, in this evolution of consciousness, right? In this evolution about knowing what we are doing here and where are we going to. So all these answers, the emotions and the feelings that are related to the emotions that develop within us, they are actually also very important because of they're making memories. We are learning with all these experiences. So all of this, as the spirits tell Kardec, it's placed there inside of us to help us in this experience of self-knowledge. Isn't that beautiful? So how are we going to shut the door? Or how are we going and we go on blaming other people? They have their own learning to do, right? They have their own challenges to face. Let's pay attention to our own challenges. And I also wanted to tell you something that I think it's very important. It's coming in my mind here, that we should talk about this, the contamination of emotions. I wanted to hear you all about that. If you have been in an experience with a lot of people around you, even in the internet, when we start reading comments or, getting people fighting with each other, but how, if you have had this experience of feeling some emotions that were not there, because Marcia was saying last week that, and we are beings that are in a collective, and this collective is very important. We are really brothers and sisters in a way that we can even imagine, psychologically and spiritually speaking. So if someone, I'm just popping in my mind the image of a bad apple. I don't know if we have talked about this in another, I think we had another podcast, but in a lot of apples, in a bad one that is spoiled in the basket. What do you think is going to happen with the other apples? Right? If we don't take the apple, or
Yeah.
right. So I would like to hear you all a little bit about this contamination, because I think we are not paying enough attention to our emotions, and it's quite easy when we are not in contact with our own emotions to, because they are in the unconscious, repressed and not worked through. So it's very quite easy that we get contaminated by other people's emotion because of all this mechanism of defense.
Hmm.
I would like to hear you
Yeah.
all about that.
Let me go ahead and get started because I think, and I want to just put it back to all of us. First of all, to me, my understanding of emotions is that external triggers, right? External triggers will, let's say, we're talking last week about uh, driving in the car and something happens, but there's a trigger, right? There's a response mechanism to something that comes from outside of me that will lead to whatever, be it fear, joy, anger, whatever, right? Those emotions. But they're internalized, Anahy, um, and we're talking about hormones, adrenaline, your breathing, your blood system is pumped with hormones or whatever it is. So there's an external and internal reactions. And when we talked about feelings, we're now talking about the realm of idea, right? It's really how I hold on to the baby that is brought to me. It was born out of the circumstance, and the idea on how I manage that emotion is how I will then internalize and go through it and become better, if you will. So when we talk about the contagion of emotions, I keep thinking about the immersion of who we are and how external events, and I'm talking about maybe the World Cup, right? Or I don't know, we talked about last week the Oscar ceremony, or an amazing movie series, Star Trek. All of those that somehow we all have been exposed to may lead to emotional responses that, if we're not aware of it, it may actually lead to and I don't know what's the term, but a severe response, a collective response to the same, right? I don't know, Jussara, I think you want to add to it.
Normally we use is mental egregore.
Yeah.
It's what and there are very simple examples, like you said. You may be invited to a soccer game and not necessarily even being a fan of soccer or football,
Uh-huh.
and or you go to a concert and you got the tickets, not that you are a fan as well, and the least you expect, you're there cheering and singing with everyone, and then when you leave, you said, what happened with me? Because I mean, I don't even think they were that good, but while we were there, we're kind of contaminated by the environment, the mental egregore. So and it's so much more powerful than we think. That's the reason why sometimes people that are very sensitive to energy, they go to places. Some places may be very harmful to them. I remember well, many years ago, I had a boyfriend, and I always loved to dance. I used to be a ballerina as well, and we would go to places to dance. But and we used to get along so well. But every time we went to one of those places to dance, we would fight. And then after a while, we would start wondering what happens that every time we go to a place like this to have fun, to we fight. And then we start thinking, because he was a spiritist like myself as well, and we start thinking, what is the environment, the atmosphere of the place is not being good to us, and so we stopped going just because of that. So sometimes you may feel like this, like here, me living in New York City, and I see a lot of tourists that come here just to go to the place of where the twin towers were. I mean, I don't go there at all. And once I had to go closer to that place, and I felt my skin, something in my skin, something that started to give me like a panic attack. I didn't realize that I was so close to the place.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden I saw, oh my God, I know what is happening is I still can feel the energy that is there. So that's why we have to be very careful with the places we go, with the people we invite to our homes, or how we are going to other people's home as well. You have
Right.
a fight with with your partner and go to have dinner in a friend's house. You may take a bunch with you, right? Contaminate the whole area. So yes, it's quite interesting, this.
Yeah, and I would just, yeah, and just to add, I mean, I agree with everything that people are saying, especially if we don't know ourselves very well. Well, we don't know what is hidden in the basement of our unconscious. And we might, be, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, I know myself, I'm all cool, but we don't know about the shadows that are there. And going to a place or to an environment or to a situation where that might be triggered and it might come out. And I was thinking things like mob mentality,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
one person says something and then loads of other people, yeah. And you're like, hello, calm down, wait. But people get overexcited because they've got that inside. But we've got that inside as well. It's not just them that has those things out there. It's because we've got it inside. And like Anahy was saying to us before, if we have it repressed, it can explode out. And we only realize it once it's already out and acting for us. So getting to know ourselves is essential, but it's not going to be a 5-minute job. It's a
Yes.
life. So we go at our peril. So I think we just always, the lesson for me is to try and have an inquisitive mind. And like Jussara was saying, okay, you got somewhere and you start to feel something different, or you're starting to feel okay, hang on, let me just stop a minute here and take stock, not to get caught up by it. And then say, okay, what are these emotions that are coming up? There's something going on here, and hold the baby, comes in, not repress it again, but say, okay, calm, but almost like in a controlled way, rather than exploding out, let it sort of slither out. But it makes you think, doesn't it? Because and particularly when we are quick to blame others, what is it in us that they are reflecting for us, very sort of gracefully, so that we can learn and develop as well. So in a way, it makes life so much more exciting, because as what Joanna says, that we can suddenly ambition to be the authors of our lives.
Mhm.
So this is where we will end up, reaching one day. And that just it's I just find it quite an interesting prospect.
And I think it's very important what you are all saying, because see what Jussara said when she got near the place where the towers were. She felt something physically, right,
Mhm.
Jussara? And when we are talking about that, we say that emotions take us by the gut.
Mhm.
Okay, so we are okay as spiritists. We know that we are spirits live, but we are living in a body of flesh, right?
Mhm.
So we are, of course, we are going to feel things in the flesh, and this is very powerful. This is very powerful, because then the ego, that it's our consciousness, that is word with adaptation, okay, to adapt in this world and to, okay, stay alive and take care of the whole systems, right, that we are, is going to be really feeling threatened. And see the reaction that Jussara said, she was feeling really bad, okay, because she was feeling like physically ill, let's say, right? And then she started remembering probably and thinking about that then we can see the feeling being developed, the memories, the ideas related to the emotion that she felt of anxiety. Probably she talked about a panic attack, right? So I think this is all very important, so we can get to know our own reactions, because if we don't know how we work, we are often manipulated by whoever or whatever wants to manipulate ourselves. We lose control, right? So it's very important to know that. And Joanna reminds us that it does not mean, when we are talking about all uh, this animal behavior, let's say, right? These emotions, it does not mean that emotions are invariably negative and feelings, for instance, positive. Many people can think that. But we can have both negative and positive feelings, okay, and emotions. For example, emotions of anger or joy, and feelings of hurt or love. Love, so important. We have to do a podcast only about love, many podcasts probably. But also another example that I think is quite useful is that, for instance, emotion like sadness, right? Because we have all been, we are this modern times, post-modern times. I know as a psychiatrist that we have so much diagnosis as depressions and anxieties, not to talk about people think about taking their own lives and this and that, okay? So emotion like an emotion like sadness is considered by many as socially negative, but actually it can be rather positive if well conducted, leading the person to deep reflections and adaptation. For instance, I'm feeling sad. and I hold like a baby the sadness, right? Or I open my door, as Rami told us, and say, come in, come in. I'm not being masochist, people. I'm not saying, oh, now I'm going to suffer. No, I'm going to be tender with my emotion. I'm going to accept it. And then I'm going to, of course, have a feeling about, because then I can relate to the meaning and to the purpose of all that. So if badly handled, it can lead to depression, for instance, right? On the other hand, an emotion such as happiness, for instance, that everybody says, I want to be happy, I want to be happy and do everything that I want. So, which is considered positive by everyone, if mishandled, can have a masking function, trying to deny sadness or fear. For instance, we were talking about the mechanism of defense of the ego, repression and denial, for instance, or even be a sign of a symptom such as euphoria, for instance, which occurs in some mood disorders that we all know. Okay, so Joanna proposes dividing emotions into positive and negative according to the purpose and consequences of the emotion. So that's we have to open the why we have to open the door, and we have to hold like a baby, because otherwise we cannot discern if it's positive or negative. If I should be, wow, happy with myself that I have this emotion, and then the feeling develops, or a good feeling, for instance, from love, or if it is bad, and it's making me, upset. Okay. And oh yes, Marcia, I would love if you could talk about that. It's brilliant. I love this movie. Can you talk about the movie?
So I was just thinking about it. I sent a note to Anahy about the movie that is, when we talk about emotions, it's brilliantly done, right? Inside Out, where this little girl and her parents, they move, and she lost all her friends, and all of the emotions run amok, if you will. They're trying to make her sad, they will make her angry, and it's a power struggle, if you think about it, right? What emotion will lead the moment for the little girl? But it's beautifully done, because then you can see that we can somehow, if we are tender with the baby, the emotion, or like Rumi said, the invited or uninvited guest, unexpected guest, if we treat them with respect and tenderness, then we're able to heal, if we may say like that, the moment that we're suffering through, right?
Beautiful. And remember that when she could feel the emotion, that the
Mhm.
sadness, then she recovered the good memories. Remember in the movie,
Correct, correct.
it's beautiful, because the memories were going away because she was in denial. She was
Yes,
forgetting. Well,
yeah,
when you forget everything, good and bad,
yes.
and then you're not in control of the learning that the experiences are trying to teach you. Well, I know we have some just few more minutes, but I would
Yeah.
love that. I know that we forgot about sensations, and we were talking about sensation. So I want to when now quickly talk about sensations, and I think this is very important, because then it's going to be something to take home.
Hmm.
Because I will only tell you what Joanna is saying about that. Okay, she says that the human creature is also a bundle of sensations, a natural result, natural, right? Like the spirit told Kardec, a natural result of the primary periods of evolution, because we are evolving and consciousness is evolving. Of course, we have sensations that have taught us emotions that have developed into feelings. So, and she says, so a natural result of the primary periods of evolution in transit to the reality of emotions. She says that the long experiences lived in the primitive ranges of the past left deep impressions that become a prevailing requirement in personal, social, and psychological behavior. Impulses and reactions are part of this process that establishes the paradigms of conduct when outside the sieve of reason. This is Joanna saying. At this stage of life, emotionally nourished by objective sensations, contacts with the world, and its manifestations, the human being enjoys the excessive game of wanting to have, far from the aspiration to be. So, the course of change from the coarse range of immediacy to the subtleties of dignified emotion is slow. Okay. And she says that the sensation driven man is demanding and possessive, not realizing the value of others' freedom, which he intends to control. By awakening emotions and feelings, it becomes natural to value others and life, to respect human values while working in favor of progress, expanding the horizons of understanding and inner fulfillment. I think it's so beautiful. I just wanted to give people this idea, this evolutionary idea that Joanna is bringing us, that we start with sensations, okay, as individuals and also as a species in our development. We start with sensations because we have the senses and we have to adapt. We have to know that we have to get warm because we are feeling cold, that we have to eat because we are feeling hungry, and etc. and etc. But if we are taken by the sensations, the how did she said, the sensation driven men and women, okay, so if we let the sensation prevail, then we are going back in evolution, backwards, okay? Because then we think we need to possess things and not to be. So we need this development of sensations to emotions and finally to feelings, so that we can learn how to be and we can learn to respect what we are and not what we have, because to have is from this part here in this moment of life, and things that we need, many times things that we don't need, that the ego or some of our complex think they need, okay. But if we develop to emotions and and feelings, then we will get to know all the guests of our house,
Love
and
it.
we are going to be. That's
Love it. Love it. This is amazing. So I think we're really close. We have just a minute or two. I'm going to invite Jussara in. Do you want to say a final word about the topic today? This is just gorgeous.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to take what Anahy has just said for my reflections for this week.
Mhm.
Just seeing that, remembering that we are not just this body, this moment, that we have a long history and we have a bright future. This is continuum, and so the moment we're in is unique, but it hasn't come from nothingness. It's the
Correct.
result of our evolution, and both spiritual and physical. So the physical body we have today is the result of the human evolution on Earth, and our spiritual evolution is our own journey. And together we have this unique opportunity of learning and experiencing life in its fullness at this moment on life on Earth, and letting them. I think, just allowing us to be aware of that. And so I'm taking that for my meditations for this week.
Awesome. Thank you.
If you would like to read that I'm just sending to you, Marcia.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So this is from the Gospel according to Spiritism, as you know, written by Allan Kardec, chapter 11, item 8. And Jussara, you said that from that on, right?
At the starting point.
Okay. So Jussara's words coming from the Gospel according to Spiritism is, at the starting point, human being only had instincts. After some advancements and the onset of corruption, he, humans, has sensations. But when he becomes instructed and more purified, he has sentiments. The most delicate apex of sentiment is love, not the vulgar sense of the word, but that inner sun which condenses and reconciles all aspirations and superhuman revelation at its ardent focal point. What an invitation. Thank you, Jussara. Thank you, Anahy. Thank you, Anne. And thank you all who chose to spend time with us this past 45 minutes. This is an amazing topic. Anahy, I hope we can uh, further break down with a podcast discussion on love or any other of those subcategories of the topic. But with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being with us. And I hope to see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. See you all.